I would say it was maybe 55. 55, and since 1955, I've been a member of a member of the club since 1955.
My father was a bartender, and my uncle Mary Gia was a president.
The first thing, my father was a member of the club, and when I had my wedding shower, was done here, so that was very special for us.
Se Peppe Curto era membro di questa associazione e allora mi ha portato là e mi ha fatto membro nella Fratellanza Racalmutese.
My uncle used to be a member here, and we've had a couple of family functions here, and a member of it coming here for stays, and so on.
My uncle, they used to be members of the club with it, and that's when they started to go to the club.
But back then, they had a Friday stag. They had a lot of party, but only for men.
The women were more around the All Souls Church when it was built in 1922. The club has been around since 1933. And then as the years were growing, we had the first generation of Racalmuteses come into Hamilton, and then the second generation of Racalmuteses that included my father and my grandfather in the 50s, beyond to the 60s and 70s. They all came to this club.
And then coincidentally, I was planning a trip to Italy, and I wanted to brush up on my Racalmutese dialect, so to speak. So I figured this is the best place to do it because there were a lot of Racalmuteses were here.
I've been member for the club from 1960, in March 1960. As I still have been member up to now.
My husband used to go there after work. I said to my husband, "Hard, you going over there? It's your first house there?" I said, "You know what? I worked so hard. I got to go to the club and relax 5 minutes before I come home with the driving with 4 little kids around the house."
I've been a part of the Fratellanza Racalmutese Club for the last 20 years. My duties included all sorts of stuff. I started off, just came on board to clean, and then long years later, I was shoveling snow and cooking and cleaning, and most of all, enjoying all of the visitors that came to the club. And at that time, it was just men only. So in order for us to be here, my husband had to be a member. So all the men in the group were members of the club, but not the women. But for me, I was welcome anytime I came in.
So when I was a kid, the earliest age I can remember is maybe when I was 5 or 6 years old. I'll be entering this club as a young child, and just meeting all my dad's friends and how they were getting together, playing cards, talking, and having a good time and socializing.
I was hesitant, knowing it was a man's club, and for the most part of it, they accepted me right away.
It was a place to find your friends, somebody you left many years before you at your own town, Racalmuto, of course. And when you come over here, you look like you're home because you find your neighbor, your good friend that you left maybe he left it for about 4 years before you.
The Racalmutese Club is home. It's a part of a culture, a heritage, which it goes from generation to generation.
Non venne vai al club ancora che si incontrano questi 4 amici, facciamo una partita, giusto pass the time. Chi vince e chi perde ognuno si parla solo.
At the time when my dad, even my grandfather came to Canada in Hamilton, they couldn't speak the language. So they turned to a club or association like the Fratellanza Racalmutese Club.
E tutte le cose era sistemato tanto preciso che nessuno doveva bestemmiare dentro il club e nessuno doveva fare sciarre tra l'uno e l'altro. Se doveva fare qualcosa che si alterava doveva andare fuori, non dentro il club, perché altrimenti ci davano una multa.
They even cut their swearing back a little bit, and they tried to make it comfortable for me. I was always treated with the most respect.
There was some promises to Mr. Salvatore Agro and my dad. They used to always tell me, "Don't let the club die." Manco fare do club morire. That was the words, you know. And even Charlie Poccaleri, he says that we got to make it to 100 years.
Non mi posso lamentare, la mentalità mia ancora è perfetta, è sempre il club racalmutese nel mio cuore e non posso mai dimenticarlo, perché la prima casa che è stata per me è stato il club racalmutese.
The streets of Racalmuto, they call out to foreign lands, names that linger in the air and come together there on the streets of Racalmuto. Hear the sound of ancient footsteps, see where love was found and lost. If these sidewalks could speak the stories they could tell, the streets of Racalmuto. Oh, the streets of
Italian immigrants began settling in Hamilton in the early 1890s. The West End Italian community was mainly inhabited by Southern Italians and Sicilians. The largest single group to settle in this neighborhood were people from the Sicilian town of Racalmuto. The decline of the sulfur mining industry around their hometown forced many of these people to move to Hamilton in search of jobs. By 1910, the Italian community in Hamilton numbered about 1,500. Most of whom arrived from Racalmuto looking for a better life. As this number continued to grow, a mutual benefit society known as the Società Mutuo Soccorso Racalmutese, or the Mutual Aid Society, was established in 1919 to offer Racalmutese newcomers sickness and life insurance. This was the first of many associations leading to the establishment of the Fratellanza Racalmutese Italian Club as a place where Racalmutesi could connect and support one another in the comfort of shared experiences, culture, and history, and to find refuge from the discrimination that existed at the time.
If a family in need needed money for a funeral or needed to take their kids to a doctor or a dentist and they didn't have the money to pay for it, the society will help out the family to get the care that family needs.
The exact founding of the Fratellanza Racalmutese that we know today is a hodgepodge of organizations gathering at various locations in the 1930s, which eventually came together. Following the establishment of the Racalmutese Mutual Aid Society, Dr. Vincenzo Agro, a prominent member of the Racalmutese community, helped found an offshoot of the Mutual Aid Society called the Circolo Recreativo Fratellanza Racalmutese, resulting in the 1935 construction of Harmony Hall. This Circolo, however, was not to be confused with the Fratellanza Racalmutese Italian Club that was operating separately at the time.
What I know about Harmony Hall is what I read in the book called The Good Doctor that was authored by Vince Agro.
Hanno riunito e hanno fatto un globo a Bay Street e Barton Street. La moneta l'ha messa avanti il dottore Agro.
When I read that book, it gave me a better understanding of what occurred during World War II in this area. And Harmony Hall was the doctor's vision in the Racalmutesis at the time to build the sala. They call it the sala.
Ora no, che è successo, si hanno divisi. E allora il dottore Agro ha chiuso le porte perché lui aveva la moneta investita.
In its day, the Harmony Hall offered the community a central meeting place for various Racalmutese associations, including the Fratellanza. Despite the availability of the hall, and for reasons unknown, the Fratellanza Racalmutese maintained its autonomy with modest meeting quarters provided in the home of Dotto Terrone. In the few years following the formation of the Fratellanza Club, anti-Italian sentiment began to grow when in June of 1940, Italian leader Benito Mussolini declared war on the Allies. Within hours, the RCMP and Hamilton police began rounding up 74 local Italians, many of them Racalmutesi, who were sent to the Petawawa internment camp. Anti-Italian sentiments resulting from the war was a factor leading to the closure of Harmony Hall and the halting of public activities within the Italian community. Italian immigrants experienced many hardships in trying to establish themselves in Canada. They faced language difficulties, endured hard physical labor, constructing roads and railways, and experienced various forms of discrimination, solidifying the need for Italian social clubs like the Fratellanza.
Quando siamo arrivati eravamo un poco maltrattati, non è che siamo arrivati e ci hanno accolto come eravamo un poco maltrattati.
They could go like 3-4 people and stop in the sidewalk and talk together, and the police would come and say to them, "Hey, DP, move, don't stay one place." They had to have some place to go.
A James Street, andava a James Street, non poteva stare fermo, doveva camminare, non di più di 2 persone, o 2 persone e non ti poteva fermare. Veniva la polizia e ti diceva move, move.
We had a hard time when we came here. A hard time.
Fortunately, the majority of Racalmutesi resided in the same district of the city, establishing their own shops and forming their own local support societies to meet their needs and the needs of others arriving from Racalmuto who continued to populate the surrounding area. Based on community estimates, approximately 30,000 Hamiltonians are able to trace their ancestry to Racalmuto, and with similar historical connections to one of the many associations, such as the Mutual Aid Society formed in 1919, the Hamilton Italian Recreation Club formed in 1935, and the Fratellanza Racalmutese Italian Club established in 1933. For many years, local clubs with a common purpose coexisted in the same building with the Fratellanza Racalmutese. But it all started in a basement of a local Racalmutese within a stone's throw from their current Murray Street location.
The first club was on Barton Street and Bay.
Just when you go down the middle of the house, there's a building is there, that's what it was, right there.
Hanno formato 2 club, uno Italo-Canadian Recreation Club e uno Fratellanza Racalmutese. La Fratellanza Racalmutese l'hanno fatto sotto il basamento di un tirone, un Peppe Tirone.
And then from there, they bought a house right next door to the Romanian Orthodox Church on McNabb Street.
Quando fu a McNabb incominciamo a essere ciozzati perché qualcuno si faceva membro. Di McNabb, o Sam Cino, ne fece accattare questa proprietà a Tumor Street. But we have a license for understand up there.
Lo club Italo-Canadian Club ha durato fino al 1962-63, qualcosa così. Il club è fallito e l'ha preso in vigore Sam Cino. Allora il club era in vendita, ma Sam Cino ha chiamato la Fratellanza Racalmutese e ci ha dato questo club di quello poco moneta che aveva speso lui. E da quel tempo è incominciato il club Racalmutese. Fino adesso ha tirato avanti e deve tirare avanti fino a che arriva a 100 anni.
When I used to live across the road here, this building itself was called Hamilton Italian Recreation Club, and then it became the Fratellanza Racalmutese Club in the early 70s.
Everything was downstairs in here. And that was smoke there like crazy.
They kind of took over the building when the Hamilton Italian Recreation Club was running into financial issues and membership issues and that type of thing.
So then when I became a president, I said to the people, I said, we gotta get out, we gotta go upstairs. And then they thought I was crazy. Spent too much money.
Bartolotta, non avevamo soldi per accattare le carte e se li portava in e le lavava con lo spirito, perché non c'erano soldi.
And finally, we built upstairs, built the bars, we built everything is on. We built a kitchen, and they told me I was crazy. And I told them, I can pay this for 1 year, you'll be able to pay up.
Allora, quando arrivava lo bello dello gas, siamo di oggi, che lo bello arrivava a gioventù, 50 mila, 25 soldi l'uno, 50 soldi e pagavamo il bello perché il club soldi non aveva.
We used to draw a bottle of whiskey every Friday night. And the money, we paid for the kitchen. Before we had everything was completely.
Following the move to the upper level of the Murray Street building, the club took on a new life as membership in the Fratellanza began to grow and other clubs began to disappear. While women were still not permitted membership in the Fratellanza, a more family-friendly atmosphere began to develop through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, with the introduction of children's Christmas parties, dinner dances, and family picnics.
We used to do a whole bunch of stuff in those days, from picnic, annual picnic every year, to the dinner dance every year, and a bunch of tournament of a bocce tournament. We used to do a whole bunch of stuff, I would say aggressive, if you want to call it, when I use that word.
E dinner dance incominciarono perché lo club lo sabato non faceva moneta. E allora io e Sam Cino, we decided to do dinner dance inside the club. Plus, I was a cook in the club for making dinner dance in the club, and somebody helped me because I was a cook. He gave me the food, he gave me everything. Special Ennio Corsini. Ennio Corsini will help me a lot. Sometimes he gave her a gift, to the surprise.
And I went with my husband, and they had all the people, even all the young people were there, all the young couple were there.
And everybody was happy because of the food he was going to give. He gave me cannoli siciliani. See?
But the success of the dinner dances led to new and creative ways of thinking about the future of the club. But innovation often requires risks to be taken by a membership set in its ways and who were content to leave things the way they were.
Sì, come per esempio abbiamo avuto l'offerta dalla scuola per $100,000 e ci portavo la proposta di accattare la scuola. No, ma tu mi pigliare per pazzo. Dice, perché che non mi fare? No, dice, stiamo buoni, non pensando all'avvenire. No, con quei soldi che abbiamo facciamo una dinner dance free. Si parlava sempre di mangiare e bere, non si parlava sempre di avvenire. Il club Racalmutese, ora che si carusi, cangiare tutte cose. And we're proud to do that.
Innovation was once again met with resistance by old-timers set in their ways and content with the surroundings they were most familiar with. The past was always something to reach back for and protect, but the future would have to wait. In the meantime, members provided opportunities for children and families to participate in events both inside and outside of 72 Murray Street West.
The Christmas parties was a big event for us. This was pretty much our Christmas present for Christmas, where we have the club has a big Christmas party and we get presents from Santa Claus.
When it gets to Christmas time, we're even go all the way down to London to buy the stuff to bring to the kids.
I have an very early memory of this place. I actually met Santa Claus for the very first time here in 1966.
And you see everybody participating, like from cousins, people that live in the area that I know.
He had a present for me to unwrap, and there was all kinds of other kids here, including my siblings. And it's still in my mind, like it was yesterday.
Another big event that was we always look forward to is the summer picnics they used to have at Shady Acres. Is a big memory for me.
Everybody went, even if they had no car. You get together, I got a car, okay, I'll come and pick you up.
We rent a bus. With the people, we got no cars. Bus was full pack every year.
They used to have the pole the grease pole, and then they have a lot of food in the top. There's salami, capicolo, cheese. You used to see all the men, all the young men, ready to go and get the tantina.
Myself, I pick up the antenna, I think about 3 or 4 times with all my gang.
The last one, you got to take all the sausage and capicolo and la mortadella.
Imagine have a day in a sunny day and I enjoy yourself, have a barbecue, talking. At nighttime we dance, we used to dance.
It was hard when they stopped doing it.
Although the Fratellanza created social networks for women and families, it remained a male-only organization where men would gather socially for a cup of coffee, a glass of wine or beer, and to play cards.
When I was probably my late teens or whatever, one of the wrestlers famous in Hamilton was the Beast. And I remember him walking down the street, coming to the club. Oh, cow, celebrities coming to this place.
It's the Friday night group here. They've been friends since they were 5 years old back in their country. And till this day, to see them at the same table, the Scalacci group, fantastic to see that. And that's what it's all about, really.
You can find a seat, you don't find a seat at all. Because, so many people used to come over to the club every single day, the day from Monday to Friday and Saturday too.
Ma tanto eravamo tutti giovani e passavamo la serata di venerdì o di sabato che era.
And we join us up when they got steak party. And we meet with a friend over there to pass time.
Because in the Racalmutese Club, every game for card to play for money. A lot of time we play for beer or shot. It's no money. I remember when we play for 50 cents, everybody get a steak.
Because we have no place to go anyway. Just to walk in the street, that's not too good anyway.
And for those who didn't play cards, the bocce courts provided another reason to gather with friends or to engage in friendly competition. It was not unusual for members to be joined by local politicians, such as former Mayor Victor K. Copps, Vince Agro, the Honorable Lincoln Alexander, and others who were welcomed by the hospitality offered by the Racalmutese.
Allora, venerdì e sabato giocavamo alle bocce che avevano chiamato 48, sì? Ma giocavamo giusto per una bottiglia di birra. A volte 20-30 persone facevamo 2 squadre, 15 e 15. E c'era la fila che giocavamo a 48. Sì, dopo facevamo 2-3 passatelle, ma alla fine ne beveva 2, ne beveva 3 bottiglie di birra, perché allora c'era solo la birra. E ne divertivamo così. Io ne Ennio Corsini, tanto spendevamo 2 pesoloni e accattavamo formaggio, salse salate, per vivere.
We had people from out of town come over here, people from Toronto, people from the other places. We used to have big parties going there, go to watch things and that. We had everything you possibly could get it. And they make a tournament, the people come for Windsor, Santa Catarina, for everywhere. And they gave a 3-day tournament with the Bocciavilla.
One of those famous bocce players and champions who apparently traveled all over representing the club was Charlie Ciurentano. And I remember even playing bocce with him just to learn the game and that type of thing, or help improve my skills with the game. But Charlie was a great guy, and he was very proud of this club and a good member of this club, and coming here quite frequently and on a regular basis, and bragged about his a number of trophies he won.
Charlie Ciurentano, which was a professional, a semi-pro bocce player, which represented Hamilton, even the Fratellanza Club in worldwide tournaments, and we respect him by naming a trophy after him. So when we have our bocce tournaments here, we call it the Charlie Ciurentano Trophy Award for the winner.
In the mid-2010s, we had some problems with the building going up next door. The retaining wall fell, and the people came in and fixed it through Liuna, training program that they had and put in these bocce courts. And they've been a fantastic source of events for the club. And it started with the Festa del Monde, having a bocce tournament here every year as part of their festival. And now they have, for the past number of years, have bocce leagues going on for the club again.
That was our 5-minute break. Yeah, we got half-time show. Half-time show. 2-minute intermission. Oh, and we're the comida.
While a vibrant Racalmutese community was evolving far from their native land, club executives stayed close to their homeland through a variety of initiatives connecting the two communities together. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Angelo Cino, Niccolo Rizzo, Giovanni Macaluso, and others in Hamilton began a dialogue with Professor Salvatore Restivo and the Pro Loco of Racalmuto concerning the possibilities of establishing a more formal connection between Hamilton and Racalmuto. September 24, 1983, marked the 50th anniversary of the Fratellanza Racalmutese of Hamilton. During the festivities celebrating this historic moment, members of the association unveiled a beautiful commemorative plaque and read notes of congratulations from the Pro Loco of Racalmuto. Several prominent local politicians attended this celebration. Among them was Alderman Vince Agro, a Hamilton Racalmutese. At the request of the Fratellanza Racalmutese and the Racalmutese community in general, Alderman Agro began work towards the twinning of the two cities. Soon, Mayor Bob Morrow of Hamilton became involved in the process, and negotiations began with Salvatore Marchesi and Calogero Sardo of Racalmuto. During that same period, a mondialization agreement was completed between Racalmuto and Hamilton. Mayor Morrow and members of the Fratellanza Racalmutese traveled to Racalmuto to take part in the 1986 Festa of the Madonna del Monte and to sign the official documents linking the two communities. At the festivities, Mayor Sardo is quoted as saying to Bob Morrow, "You are also the mayor of Racalmuto, because there are more Racalmutesi that voted for you in Hamilton than for me here in Racalmuto."
Relationship per Racalmuto, una volta Babbo e Moro abbiamo fatto gemellaggio e ci dette le chiavi del comune Racalmuto a Babbo e Moro. Babbo e Moro fu mi pare 2 o 3 volte a Racalmuto quando c'era la festa per il Monte e fu acclamato di tutti perché era conosciuto, sì.
Racalmuto was nice too. We had to bring the mayor from here with the Twin City.
E le altre persone furono soddisfatte che Babbo Moro è visitato a Racalmuto.
And now I had to bring Bob Morrow right up from pick it up at the airport, pick it up at Racalmuto, and be with him the whole time with Racalmuto, show him everything's up and everything.
Ma prima Nanto, quando c'era San Giulugino aveva corrispondenza a volte con qualcuno del Siriolo. San Giulugino was proud di avere queste comunicazioni.
We changed the street. The name of the street is different. Then they called me one day. They had a new street up the mountain there. They want to put a Racalmuto street. That was okay for me. I said, sure, go ahead.
He helped me a lot. So Bobby Mori, well, every couple of months he come around to the club, to say hello to the people. It was a good, very, very good made for us anyway. For somebody else, I don't know. But we helped him a lot.
And during my 3 visits to Racalmuto, many experiences were had. They all come flooding back. The meeting with Shasha at his house 10 years ago, all of the wonderful experiences come back to me today. And to celebrate a remarkable relationship between Hamilton and Racalmuto. One of the most amazing and wonderful parts of Hamilton is the Racalmutese community. Here in this city for over 120 years. now numbering possibly 23,000 people. This in itself one of the most significant transplantations of people from one community to another in the history of Europe and the Americas. Hamilton then has had this most honorable, productive, and contributing community of people, either through direct immigration or through descent, and it has been in its moral fiber, its standards, and in all its achievements and contributions, a benefit of priceless value. We say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Thank you for the gift of the Racalmutese people of Hamilton. Thank you for the relationship which will be part of all of us forever and ever. May God bless Racalmuto. May God bless Hamilton. Viva Racalmuto. Viva Hamilton.
Since 1986, the relationship with the city of Racalmuto began to take on a life of its own that peaked in the 1990s. Sicilian folklore music became a gateway to cultural exchange between the two communities, while also satisfying the nostalgic desires of a community connected to their homeland. The soon-to-be-formed Gruppo Folkloristico of Hamilton, consisting of men, women, and children, was offered space to practice in the Fratellanza building, with encouragement and support given to them by Fratellanza President Baldassaro Giglia. This was the inspiration needed to promote Sicilian culture through dance and music, making the folklore group an adjunct to the club, despite the restriction, at the time, that was placed on women membership.
In 1988, when we started the Gruppo Folkloristico Racalmutese of Hamilton, we started practicing downstairs. And our practice was every Tuesday night downstairs. At that time, with Baldassaro Giglia, the president, was very welcoming to myself, my family, and all the kids in the group. They made us feel very at home. And to a lot of the kids and myself was like a home away from home.
It was an amazing relationship between the club and the folklore group. Myself, I was a member of the folklore group at the time for, I would say, 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure exactly what it was. But it was a really great feeling.
We did a Mohawk College show twice, and both times the club sponsored our tickets. That was very important to us, and it was a good cultural experience for all our kids. That up to now, they feel like this club is still part of them.
But while the Hamilton folklore group was gaining popularity, there were two similar folklore groups establishing themselves in the Racalmuto homeland, the Città di Racalmuto folklore group and the Badizi Sale e Surfaro di Racalmuto, each on the radar of the Fratellanza Racalmutese Club, and each visiting Hamilton at various times.
I was president in 1968, 69, 7, up to 1980, 82. My secretary was Angelo Cino. We called the group of folkloristico from Racalmuto. 2 groups from Racalmuto. One called Badizi Sale Sulfuro. We was proud to get this young guy away.
One of the first visits to Hamilton was by the 33-member dance group Città di Racalmuto under the direction of Decimo Sardo in September of 1987. The most memorable part of their trip was the parade of the folklore group singing and dancing, starting from the Murray Street Club, proceeding on to James Street, and ending the parade at Hamilton City Hall.
When we call this a group from Racalmuto, see, he bring him over and he would take him to London, we take him to Canada Wonderland, bring him back the same tradition we have the old people.
Several years later, a trip to Italy by the 30-member Gruppo Folkloristico of Hamilton, led by Maria Martorelli, was arranged by the Fratellanza for performances in Racalmuto in 1992, and then again in 1995. Many of the group members were children.
So one year we were invited from Association Pietro Gicchi, invited us to take part of on a performance at Mohawk College, and we performed. So that night, Sam Cino was there, and somebody came up to me and said, "There's a gentleman that wants to talk to you." So after the show, I went up, and Sam Cino came to me and said to me, "This group is so good, is one of the best, needs to go to Racalmuto. Can you come to my house and we'll talk?" So I said yes. He gave me his address. We went to his house. Myself, my husband, Calogero Pereira at that time was the vice president of the group. And this is when Cino suggested that he already spoke to Professor Restivo in Racalmuto, and he told them all how proud he was to see this group from young kids born here, and how great we sang, that they needed to go to Racalmuto. So after that, we got a letter put together, and through quite a bit of hard work on Tiangelo's behalf and the people from Racalmuto. And then to get there, we needed the flight, which this is Lilo Puma, had a travel agency in St. Catherine, and he got involved between Tiangelo and Lilo Puma and the rest from Racalmuto, which was Giovanna Venia, Professor Restivo, and other members of the Regione d'Agrigento, made it possible for us to go to Racalmuto for the first time and perform there.
Then in June 1999, the Racalmutese folklore group Edizi Sale e Sufaro di Racalmuto, under the direction of Luigi Mattaliano, made a third visit to Hamilton, the previous two being in 1989 and 1996. This time, they were accompanied by the beloved Pace Puma and Dottore Aldo Scimè to participate in the Festa del Monte, an entity unto itself, yet intertwined with the Fratellanza Racalmutese Italian Club, and, at times, the two entities being indistinguishable. According to local tradition, the Racalmutese Maria Santissima del Monte Festival has a long history, a history that spans over 520 years. The Hamilton version of the festa was initially organized by the Racalmutese Mutual Aid Society, and its popularity drew people from neighboring communities such as Welland, Port Colborne, Niagara Falls, and Buffalo, New York. By the 1930s, the Festa del Monte was well established in Hamilton and served as a vehicle through which the Racalmutesi could celebrate their faith and cultural identity. Unfortunately, due in part to the Depression and in part to growing anti-Italian sentiment, the Racalmutese community stopped the public display of the Festa del Monte. When the Second World War anti-Italian sentiment began to subside many years later, people began to think about re-establishing the Festa del Monte in Hamilton. It was Sam Agro in the late 1980s, together with others, that led the initiative to re-establish the festival. Soon after, the Ontario Comunità Racalmutese Maria SS del Monte was formed, and along with the support of Our Lady of All Souls Church and the Fratellanza Club, the new version of the festa was celebrated in June 1989. The committee organizing the 1989 festa was led by Sam Agro, organizational chair, Santo Randazzo, president, and Jenny Frappa, president of the Women's Committee.
Il primo Racalmutese che arriva qua in Hamilton arriva proprio in questa stazione di treno, e questo è stato nel 1908. So, di allora ognuno si è fatto la sua casetta col suo sudore, hanno lavorato forte nella sacca, e ringraziamo a Dio fino adesso stiamo tutti bene. E parleremo un po' della festa, quando è stata la prima festa. La prima festa è stata fatta nel 1931 dei nostri vecchi padri, quelli che sono venuti al 1908. Dopo 5 anni di festa, perché è durato dal 31 fino al 35. Dopo di allora c'è stata la depressione e allora quella festa non si è fatto più. Allora abbiamo fatto un'altra volta la festa nel 1989, fino a oggi, in questa piazza, dove tutti i racalmutesi stanno in giro a questi contorni qua. Special modo su muri stretti abbiamo adesso il nome della strada Racalmutese.
I remember for the festa the Monte when we used to get really dressed up like everybody else, dressed up with the horse, with the damigelle, with the principesse, all that stuff like that.
You know, when we had a feast, we used to get together. It looked like we were back at Racalmuto. Everybody talks your language, everybody talks Racalmutese, you meet people, you know. For me, it looks like that when I go there and you meet all these people, you feel like you're back home.
I think the Fratellanza Club is the anchor of the festa, along with All Souls Church. This club has a historical significance here, being down the street from Leuna Station, and All Souls Church being around the corner, and Murray Street being named Corso Racalmuto. This club has a lot of historical significance in the area, and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Though the Festa del Monte continued to be a mainstay of the All Souls Church Racalmutese congregation, membership at the club began to decline as Racalmutese moved out of the West Hamilton area or began to age, making them less able to get to the club. Since new memberships were not replacing the old, more creative efforts needed to be made to ensure the survival of the club.
Lo club ha speso tanta moneta per aggiustarlo, a fare plasce nuove, floro nuovo, e si è speso un poco di moneta, si è accumulata la moneta, ma quello si è speso. Ma poi di fatto la gente diminuiva, non venivano più persone avanti.
Not because there's a lot of competition that all clubs have suffered with people, younger people going out to bars and that type of thing.
È come una casa di ritiro, perché ora magari le partite si vedono in le partite di pallone, ma allora tanto io avevo messo il satellite, capigliamo i partiti diretti dell'Italia, e allora la giovani, anziani ci piaceva e venivano al club.
As the people started moving away from this area, there was a decline of members or even people coming to the club.
E noi siamo rimasti ogni anno di meno, fino a che il club stava per morire. Sì?
Ma di anziani ora il club non ce ne siamo stati. Di anziani, come si dice prima, siamo maybe 4-5, ma l'altro sono tutto new generation.
Because now they're living on the above the escarpment, on the mountain, I guess you want to call it. And and they started congregating up there instead of coming down here. The only time they come down here is even on weekends or even on a Friday night. But during the week, it was kind of dwindling down to nothing.
C'è che non guida, c'è che non esce, chiude casa. Sei come fino a che guido, ok, come non guido più. Perché da sopra che pigliavo text.
The writing had been on the wall for many years. Declining memberships meant declining revenues. Younger members were not joining fast enough to replace members lost due to aging. The club needed to find new ways to generate revenue. Some succeeded, and others were short-lived. Stags and the famous Friday lunches became an avenue to attract new members while generating revenue to pay the bills.
I think the first time I came into this building, I was probably 18, 19 years old. It was for a stag that was held in the main hall here.
A lot of the members here back in the day always cooked on Saturdays. It was always successful for the club.
We make a steak, and we help me to cook. not going to pay there because he tried to survive the club, see. Summertime, we cook lots of time free for the people when they like a trip, you know, and they're proud for the people who maybe come over. We're not going to pay no ticket, but we survive because it's sold me lots of booze, see.
Charlie and myself, by fluke, happened to cook on a Friday one day, not knowing how the lunches would ever turn out.
Summertime we have 40, 45 people. Summertime 50, but we can put no more than that because the whole they don't hold so many people. Can hold maybe 50, 52.
Charlie Bergaleri always did the sauce. I started doing the shopping on the Wednesday, right through the Friday, setting up. The cooking started at 6 in the morning, and by 1 o'clock, the food was on the table, and there were so many people. I remember the time Bobby Curtola came in for lunch and sang everybody some songs. Angela Mosca always brought in great groups.
Angelo Mosca was also another frequent guest, and certainly in the later years and just before he passed. He was here for the lunches. He was a real jovial character, and he liked kidding around with people. He felt at home here. I think we loved having him here. He always played jokes with us. I remember, and as he got older, he had trouble. He was a walker, and we'd be outside here having a cigarette, whatever. When he pulled up, and we'd go to help him get out of the car, and he would purposely. He's not a little guy. He was a big guy, but he would purposely give resistance. We couldn't help him get out of the car. He said, "Come on, move." He did it on purpose, and he'd come out laughing after that.
It was a pleasure to see so many Thai Cat people come here over the years because Ange would always say, if you want to see me, you got to come to the club. And they did. Peter Della Riva always came here. The Thai Cat Association always came here. If you wanted to see him, this was the place you had to come.
Despite the success of the Friday lunches, the survival of the club was met with yet another new challenge. With the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic in March of 2020, the club couldn't operate, causing revenues to plummet and bills needed to be paid.
You know, the first 2 years of the pandemic was about survival, where we were doing curbside meals just to bring in some revenue and keep the club afloat, and increase of membership just to pay some of the expenses that we incur on a monthly basis. So in 2020, there was a special meeting in August where there was a decision to be made about the club because there's no revenues, the bills weren't getting paid, and the doors were virtually closed. And it was on the verge of making a decision to sell or to close it permanently and walk away from it.
A new survival strategy was imminent, having to revisit past unsuccessful initiatives to bring women into the Fratellanza membership. The day that women would become members of the Fratellanza finally arrived on October 25th, 2020. This momentous occasion happened 7 months into the global pandemic, more or less ensuring the viability of the club for generations to come.
We never had any woman at all. No woman at those days. The only time we get a woman is when you go to the picnics, that's it.
Friday night group especially, I don't think wanted or didn't care for much to have women here on a Friday night because, you know, the language that they would have to be careful of and that type of thing. And it was more of a men's night.
It was something that was always discussed, something that was always voted down.
Gli anziani non molivano, che pensavano che c'era la superstizione del Racalmuto.
L'ho portato alla sede e non l'hanno voluto accettare. Hanno detto che il club era dei maschi, doveva rimanere dei maschi. Ho provato di più di una volta, ma nessuno ha voluto sentire questo.
Ora che sono fatto del giornale alle femmine, io la proposta ce l'avevo portato quando ero presente io come facevano le marchigiani o perché a Benbrock joinavano maschio e femmine, Dice no, non che vogliamo queste cose, non stiamo buoni così come stiamo.
For me, it didn't bother me because I had 4 kids. I was working. If Carmen went to the club It didn't bother me. At least he has some place to go, and I knew where he went.
Se la grande assemblea non accettava il presidente, non poteva fare niente. E ci levavamo male, perché io ci diceva, portiamo le mie figlie, la moglie, allora si conoscono, questa è un'amicizia. No, stiamo buoni così come stiamo. Ok? Se pensi che stiamo stati buoni, ok.
We used to go to the mother-in-law or to the mother with the kids. We have our own things to do.
Al club Racalmutese gli anziani pensavano sempre a mangiare e bere. Non pensavano per l'avvenire.
No, è stato uno sbaglio, no, era la vanità della testa che avevano loro, la mentalità vacante, non pensavano.
But in order for this club to continue, we needed to open it up, not just to the Racalmuteses and the women, we needed to open it up to everybody.
Upon Joe Colonel coming in, it was revisited, and this time it was very successful that people voted to finally have women at the club.
That's one thing that really surprised me, and I had a mind when I was the president over here to do it, but for some reason I don't really remember why we didn't do it.
And I was proud to be the first female member, as lots of hard work, many hours for the club. I felt honored to have that happen.
Perché giocarono le femmine, e so fare il gioco corto, sta a fare una cosa meravigliosa, sì? Che non si può fare tanti anni addietro.
Fortunately, the Fratellanza initiated a family-friendly survival strategy prior to the pandemic, with open houses, petting zoos, and magic shows for children, Easter egg hunts, and the re-establishment of children and family Christmas parties. In no time, membership saw an increase that would ensure the existence of the club and the optimism needed by the Fratellanza membership to anticipate the arrival of the club's 90th anniversary. The introduction of women into the membership cemented the club's future with the formation of the Fratellanza, a women's subcommittee, holding regular bingo nights and other events. And yes, men were invited too.
G50, G50.
The more recent successes of the club were attributed to a new committee of younger and more energetic visionaries, but built on the successes, sacrifices, dedication, and hard work of past Fratellanza presidents and their committees.
All the past presidents and committee members, vice presidents and treasurers and directors of the club all had a role in this club. Everyone had a different vision, how the club should perform. Everybody contributed in their own way. Talking to some of the old presidents that are still around, they just love this place.
A lot of them became like my second fathers, my second brothers.
They grew up here. This is like their second home. They tell me stories about how they fixed the place up. Everything was done by help of the members. And so the contribution to the old committee members is very valuable, and I have full respect for it.
Of course, we were very lucky to have Joe Colonel come along. Joe basically had a new vision for the club, a vision that should have been looked upon a long time ago. Joe was definitely the man to come along and save the club, kind of like a guardian angel.
And I have full gratitude of my committee. It's not just me doing this. We have a vision, we put a mission together, and we are executing to that mission.
Now celebrating its 90th anniversary, who would have thought the club would have survived this long? A new and younger generation of Racalmutese descendants are breathing new life into the Fratellanza, pushing toward a 100th anniversary, and perhaps yet another 100 anni, 100 years.
Now our goal, our strategy is how do we keep it going for the future? And this is where we're at. We're building that up, and everything that we're executing now is about 5 years, 10 years beyond.
But Italian hospitality and the Fratellanza vision continues to extend beyond the walls of 72 Murray Street. Just as the Racalmutese were invited into the Hamilton community more than 100 years ago, members are now inviting the community to become part of its continuing legacy of survival.
A local Italian club gave free meals to nearly 200 people in need today at their first ever Easter luncheon. Community members generously donated food and money so that the group could hand out the free lunches. Their inaugural event included a buffet-style meal with turkey, ham, potatoes, vegetables, buns, and gravy. Organizers say the goal is to give back to the community.
First time you guys have held something like this here?
Yeah, this is the first time we held something like this at the club. I became president about a year and a half ago, and we changed the mission and vision of this club to open it up to the community and help those in need and be more community friendly and help the people around us.
We had over maybe 48 volunteers help out. It's all volunteer driven. Everybody give a lot of their time, and people were very generous in the community to give their funds and or food. So. Absolutely. That was a great day.
Their first luncheon today comes after another Easter special held last weekend. Since 1933, this social club has been gathering with the mission of keeping their Italian traditions alive.
Now that's different because the younger generation come in, the club got a future because they got a lot of members and they do a lot for the club.
The old one, they only live with, I think, 3 or 4 people. Me, Gianni Macaluso, Charlie Brucolere, and not one or two because they get in the old. It's 7, it's 8. But the new generation, I was so proud because I never figured out the younger generation is going to take over.
So my last message to anyone out there who is Racalmutesis that is younger than me, please step forward, help us out. We need you to make this club continue and to the next 20, 30 years.
I would say, in my opinion, maybe it's the longest living Sicilian club in the history of North America. I don't see any others be longer than that. 90 years is a lifetime.
Plus, maybe you can give another 99 to the top and go behind the
Nata Racalmutese, vissuta Racalmutese, e la Racalmuto mi essere orgogliosi di essere Racalmutese.
I see the future of this club in the next 10, 15 years as being a community center that shares our culture, the Sicilian Racalmutese culture and heritage in forms of food, art, even our culture and things we do on a regular basis. We want to continue that on in the future.
The streets of Racalmuto, they call out to foreign lands, names that linger in the air and come together there on the streets of Racalmuto. Hear the sound of ancient footsteps, see where love was found and lost. If these sidewalks could speak the stories they could tell, the streets of Racalmuto. Oh, the streets of Racalmuto bear the scars of yesterday. On the streets of Racalmuto,